Hi socialites, and welcome to yet another beautiful, interesting and gorgeous tutorial. So in this one today, as you can see already on your screen, I'm going to be taking you through the entire pattern drafting and sewing process of this beautiful blouse. This is a blouse with an extended band at the sides and also a cape-like structure on the shoulder area. If this is the one you're interested in, why not sit right back, relax as I take you through the entire easy, simple method of getting this done. This is a snippet into the pattern drafting of a regular princess bustier blouse. So just in case you do not know how to go about your princess pattern drafting, please click on the link in the description box to take you through this detailed tutorial on how to go about your princess dart bustier, because this is the basic of this particular tutorial. You have to go through this so that you understand the genesis of this whole pattern drafting. But if you already have the basic knowledge on how to go about your princess pattern drafting, then there is no need for you to go watch that one. You can just continue from this particular tutorial. Okay, so with that being said, guys, let's delve into the actual tutorial for the day. This is what the cutting process of a princess dart bustier blouse looks like. So this is the front pattern I'm cutting out. This is the bustier princess area, and this is the back pattern as well. This is the zipper allowance area, and this is the neck area. So after the cutting, this is what they both look like. So from this point now, you can use this for your normal regular princess dart bustier, like a straight blouse. But because that is not the purpose for this particular one, I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to further cut this part of the pattern drafting so that we can proceed with exactly what we are doing for the day. Okay, so like I said, this is the half waist area. I just have to write that down so that it's easier to understand. Like I said, for this particular blouse, I'm going to be cutting along this half waist area, but before I do that, I need to get these two pieces of the front and then hold them together with the help of my paper tape. So I have them joined together before I separate the lower part of the blouse from the upper part. Okay, so this is what we have for the front, and then this is how we go about the cutting of the back as well. And with the separation being done, this is the front pattern, and then this is what we have for the back pattern. So I take this upper part aside, and then we're going to be working with this lower part. So for this, I'm going to be measuring the waist area, and I come down to the hip area. I'm just going to be adding 1 inch to what we have at the waist area. I'm not going to be using the hip measurement again at this point. I do the same thing to the back. I measure what we have at the waist area, and then I come down to the hip area. I just add 1 inch to what we have at the waist area, ignoring the hip measurement at this point. I hope you understand the point. So I have that ruled out vertically, and I'm going to be cutting this part out. Okay, so I have that cut out, and this is what we have as our new pattern that we are going to be working with. So now that they are looking the same, I have to write out the center front and center back. So I get back the upper part of the pattern, and by the time I place them together, this is what it should look like. And see, it's almost looking straight at the lower part. That's exactly the point, even though it's a little bit slanting. So at this point, we can proceed to the cutting of our fabric using our pattern paper. So this is what the folding looks like. So I placed this lower center pattern on it, and then I added my lower seam allowance. At this side, I added a seam allowance, but I ended up taking that out, so there's no need to add any seam allowance at the side. Okay, just use exactly the width of your pattern paper. Ignore what I did here. Just add at the lower and upper part of your pattern paper. You can see where this arrow is. Ignore that seam allowance at that point. Okay, just add to the upper and lower part of your pattern paper. At the back pattern as well, I did the same thing. I cut exactly the width that I have. That is the wideness of the pattern paper. I cut exactly like I said. Ignore the seam allowance I added at the side where you can see this arrow. Only add your upper half inch and then lower half or 1 inch seam allowance, because in the course of this tutorial you will see where I actually took that seam allowance out because we didn't need that. So after cutting, I have to notch the zipper allowance at the back. And for the upper part of the blouse, this is what the cutting also looks like. So this is the upper side area. For this particular one, you have to add all your necessary seam allowances where needed. As you can see, I added ½ inch at this side. At the armhole area, I also added ½ inch, but at the side I added 1.5 inch, and then at the lower part I added 1 inch. So for the center front as well, I added 1 inch at the lower part, half inch at this side that you can see, and then half inch at the shoulder, half inch upper. Then for the back pattern, I did the same, added seam allowances all over where necessary. So after all said and done, this is what the cutting of our fabric using our pattern looks like. And now it's time for us to cut the extra keep by the side. So for the length, I used 20 inches on fold, that's 40 inches. And then for the width, I use the width of 4.5 inches. You can use 5 depending on how wide you want it to be. So that's what I use. So I cut along those measurements, the length of 40 inches and the width of 4.5 inches, everything placed on fold. Remember that this particular band extension is the one for the sides of the blouse. So when I open it up, this is what it looks like. So this is the placement. I'm going to be cutting 2 of these. Then for the one at the shoulder, I use the length of 16 inches and the width of 4.5 inches. So I slashed this into 2 for the 2 shoulders, and this is what the placement looks like. This is the folding, and on placing it on the shoulder, this is how you fold it to be placed on the shoulder. Okay, so that's it. And for the sleeves, this is what the sleeve looks like. So at this point, I was done stitching the upper front area together. I used facing instead of lining. This fabric is quite thick, so I didn't want to use a full lining, so I have to reshape the armhole area. Okay, for a princess, that this is normal. You can also see that the bust area is well shaped. That's to tell you how detailed the tutorial is, so you need to check that out. So with that being done, we come to the back. This is what the back also looks like. I also had an interfacing and that all done at this point. Note that you can use a full lining if you want. Like I said, this fabric is thick. So coming to the lower part of the blouse, remember I said I was still going to take out the seam allowances that I added while I was cutting out this fabric using the pattern paper. So at this point, I'm retaking the measurement so that I can take off the seam allowances that I already added to the fabric. Okay, so when I measured, I noted that I was going to take out 1.5 inches at the waist area, so I had that cut out, and then I'm going to be doing the same thing to the back part. This is to tell you that for this one, we need the actual waist measurement. We are not adding any seam allowances to that. Okay, and this is the side band that we're going to be attaching to the both sides of the blouse. As you can see, I have hairstay put around the middle area. I didn't put all through, like all over the band. I just put on the part that would be sewing to the main blouse. Okay, so I had it placed on fold, and I did the same thing to the second part. This is what they both look like. These ones are the ones that I'm going to be attaching to the shoulder area. You can see I also put hairstay on them. You can use paper stay, whatever you want. So for the back, this is what it will look like by the time I stitch with the zipper. And the front, I'm going to be closing on the shoulder and the side using the body measurement. Okay, so afterwards, this is what the blouse looks like. The upper part of the blouse looks like after I've stitched the shoulder and the sides using the body measurement. So at this point, I'm going to be attaching the lower parts of the blouse to it. That's a mini flare part. Okay, so I get it, and you can see the waist is equal. There is no allowances at the lower part, like at the flare part. You can see I used exactly the waist measurement. There is no seam allowances, it's just the zipper allowances that I added at the back. Okay, so I'm going to be stitching along like so. And after the stitching, this is what the waist area to the lower part of the blouse looks like. This is the front part, and then this is what the back also looks like. I've not yet inserted the zipper at the back, so you can see that the waist measurement of the upper part and the mini flat part is equal. Next, I'm going to be attaching the band to these sides of the blouse. So I get the band. So for the band, I fold it into 2 equal halves like so, and I get the midpoint. I have it notched, and it's this notched part that I'm going to be stitching at the side or the center side of the blouse. Can you see? This is the placement. I place it like so, and at the point where the length of the band terminates with the length of the blouse, I have that mark, and then I'm also going to be notching that point. Okay, this point, can you see that? That is where the length of the band finishes with the length of the blouse. So I have that notched on both sides. But before attaching it to the main bodice, that's the main blouse, I open it up like so. Okay, so by the time I open it up, I'm going to be stitching some parts before I attach. So I fold it over outward or inward like so. So from that notched part, I'm going to be stitching to the end of the band. Can you see? That's how the stitching goes. So after the stitching, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to be turning it inside out using the parts that I did not stitch. But before that, I'm going to be notching this part so that by the time I turn section, it is well relaxed. Can you see what I'm doing? So I have it notched up to the point that I stitched. Can you see? This is what it should look like, so that by the time I turn inside out, the part that I stitch is not dragging the part that I did not stitch. So I have it turned inside out. After turning, I'll have to iron it flat. This is what it looks like after turning. Can you see? This part is the part I'm going to be attaching to the side or the waist part of the blouse. So this is what the second one also looks like. And right here I have them both well ironed and flattened, as you can see. So I get the main blouse, and it's time for me to attach the band to the side. So the center point that I notched, I get that part, and then I come to the side of the blouse. I'm going to be flipping over like so, and then have these two parts held together with the help of an office pin. So I have it placed and then held down, after which I'm going to be stitching from this point all the way to the other end of the blouse. Can you see? So I stitch up to this point, and after stitching, this is what it looks like. And you see our blouse has come out looking like what we want it to look like. So this is what it looks like, and this is what we also have the back part looking like. So we are left with the zipper allowance to fix at the back and also attach the sleeves. But before attaching the sleeves, we have this part to work on first. So I get this part. I'm going to be closing the two ends of this band, so I'm not going to be stitching this other longer part, just the two ends. So after closing it up and ironing it, this is what they look like. And first of all, I'm going to be attaching this to the main sleeve before attaching it to the bodice of the blouse. So I get the main sleeves, and then I get this band, I fold it into two, get the midpoint, and I'm going to be notching that point. After notching the midpoint, I'm going to be attaching that midpoint to the middle of the sleeves as well. Can you see? And then I have it stitched all the way to this point, and I'm going to be doing the same thing to the second one. After stitching, this is what it should look like. So at this point, this is ready to be attached to the armhole of the main blouse. So already know how to go about that. Just in case you don't know, leave a comment in the comment section below. So I'm going to be stitching around this to the armhole and then attach the zipper, and afterwards this is what we have. I'm going to be giving it a final ironing, and as you can see, our blouse came out looking as beautiful as always, and the fitting is 110%. This is what we have, guys. Please try this out. It's so beautiful, it's so elegant, so classy. Let me know your thoughts about this tutorial in the comment section. And then on putting it on, this is how gorgeous our blouse came out looking. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did teaching you. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in my very next tutorial. Bye.